This is just a fever dream of bad choices. We're taking a trip to the delightful Greek islands here at Breakfast All Day. The fantastic Dave White is here to join me to talk about My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. There's a third one of these. Just when you thought you'd seen all the big fat Greek weddings, no, there is one more remaining. And Alonso had to recuse himself from this one because he's fancy.
He's a little too fancy for this house.
Right. So thankfully Dave's down to earth.
That's right. I don't go out to these wild Hollywood parties like Alonso does.
Right. So so thank you, Dave, for enduring a matinee at the Grove of My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. If you're not subscribed yet, you really should, because we're doing it for you in this middle ground area between summer and the fall prestige season. Somewhere in the middle there lies My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3, and we're going to review it for you.
Family sleepover. This is one reunion we'll never forget.
So this time Nia Vardalos directs it and writes it and stars in it once again as Toula. She's been married to, I keep wanting to call him Aiden, but he's not. He's Ian. He's John Corbett. He's essentially the same guy. He's just like a big, goofy guy. And her father, played by Michael Constantine, has died in real life and in the film. And so she has to fulfill his final dying wish of going back to the village on this Greek island where he grew up. And it's such an arbitrary MacGuffin-y thing that she has to do. There's like this journal that is packed with important memories and details and photos from their childhood, and she has to track down the other best friends from his childhood, but like no one knows where to find them. They're not on Facebook, whatever. But the whole clan has to go. Lainey Kazan, as the mom, has to stay back in Chicago because she is suffering from the beginnings of dementia, and she's got to stay with some folks. It's all very contrived to keep some people in some places. Anyway, the whole big noisy clan, including Andrea Martin as Aunt Vula, thank God she's there. They all travel to this island, and hilarity and Windex and all the words have Greek origins ensue. If there's a joke from the first movie that they hammered to death in the second movie, they pound it into the ground in the third. You get all the greatest hits. And I just found this baffling, like the whole way through. I was physically uncomfortable the whole way through because this is just a fever dream of bad choices, of baffling editing decisions. It is so erratic. I physically felt like tensed up because the rhythms of this movie are so erratic, and like the choices as far as like cutaways, like people will be standing there having a perfectly nice conversation at a ledge with beautiful scenery around them, and she'll cut away from them to like pan across the countryside and then come back. And it's just things like that. I wonder what was the thinking here. And it's all just so hacky. And I know it's meant to be broad. This is not subtle comedy. This is not a deadpan, dry comedy here. It's meant to be broad and wacky. But even by those standards, everything is just so hackneyed and so silly. And I just couldn't wait for it to be over. Dave?
Okay, so it turns out that at my 5 p.m. yesterday screening at the Grove in Los Angeles at the AMC, I unwittingly found myself in the extremely casual premiere of this film. There's a strike going on, and there can be no premieres right now. So little did I know this, but Nia Vardalos and her friends and some cast members, including Joey Fatone, were sitting directly behind me.
Amazing.
At my screening.
Amazing. How awkward is that?
I live in Los Angeles, and these things sometimes happen. You get used to it. You do not. Actually, you don't give a shit, really, when it happens. When I learned that it was happening, I was like, oh, okay, so everyone here is here? Okay, all right, fine. I might be swimming against the tide here. I enjoyed this movie a lot.
Did you really?
Yes.
Wow, the power of persuasion.
No, it wasn't even that, because I just didn't. I was like, I wasn't thinking about them behind me. I have an impenetrable wall of around me. Okay, I married into this family. They aren't Greek, they're Spaniards. But you know what happens when it's a time for a family trip to Spain? Every fucking buddy goes. Everybody goes. Everybody
I
goes.
see. Okay.
You get there and there's a gift. And the gift is a tote bag with family expressions printed on it. Okay? That you are never to forget. You are never to forget these family expressions. You're to learn them. They're all in Spanish. You are to learn them and you are never to forget them. So I watch this film and I feel I'm Aiden. I'm John Corbett. Okay, let's talk about the formal aspects of this film.
Yes.
There used to be lots and lots and lots of these kinds of movies in the 70s and 80s, these sort of middle budget movies just about people and stuff that they do, right? We don't get so many of them anymore in a big multiplex. We get billion-dollar whatevers. Does she do some weird cuts and pans and stuff like you said? Yes, she does. It's not the best filmmaking in the world, but I laughed. And yes, consistently. And I laughed because Andrea Martin is genetically, physically incapable of being unfunny. I don't think she can do something and not be funny. I thought, and I wrote these names down because I don't know these people.
Okay.
Anthi Andreopoulou, who played the old grandma lady in the village.
Yeah, she was kind of a hoot.
Everyone was terrified of, but you realize that she's holding this village together because there's only, they say, like 6 people left in there. And you realize that the people in the surrounding areas are all refugees. There's a Syrian refugee who's a part of the cast who has a plot line. And there is a scene where the old grandma lady, I wish I could remember, Alexandra is the character's name. Thank you. I just remembered. Alexandra, the terrifying old lady, is handing out loaves of bread to Ukrainian refugees every single day. Where does she make this bread? How does she get up early enough to do it? She just does it. And this idea of taking care of people in need who have come to your land and not being xenophobic about it, and that's a joke in the film. They're like, xenophobia is a Greek word, you know. There's this idea in the film about who becomes your family. There are also characters that are introduced in the film that you learn, oh, they are in the family. So the idea of creating family relationships and building a community is very much a part of this movie. Is it, done with subtlety or, as I said, directorial grace all the time? No, but it's funny and it's charming and it is about something. Nia Vardalos gives the ground to other characters to be funny and to have plot lines. She kind of steps back. And I thought that was actually really a generous writer-director move on her part.
This is a very charitable read on your part, Dave.
I don't think I'm being charitable. I think I'm being real here about what I saw.
So I think they subtly, gently wedge in the thing with the refugee kindness. There's also a non-binary character, and they handle that with a surprising amount of subtlety.
They're the mayor, and they talk like they're hosting Eurovision every day. Like, #1, the best. Like, that made me laugh every single time they did it.
See, I thought that was totally corny, the #1, the best thing. But the way they handle
was corny.
There's a dance scene that they handled the non-binary element, which I thought was nice. So here and there were some grace notes. For the most part, I felt like this was just like a sledgehammer.
Fully corny.
I was so distracted the whole time, Dave, because I wonder whether I was watching it being projected in the wrong aspect ratio. Because people's heads were cut off, or like the tops of buildings were cut off. There's a key scene at a nude beach where people swim up in the ocean and like the bottoms of their faces are cut off. So I'm like, is this
maybe
just
you
bad
were in a
framing?
theater that had bad? Maybe you were in a theater that had bad masking.
I was at the only press screening.
The nude beach scene made me laugh because they were doing that Austin Powers thing of like, here's a watermelon in front of my dick, like. I think that's funny.
Okay, so what is your number?
I'm
then?
a
We're going
child,
to have very different numbers.
That's I'm truly...
That's fine. Okay, so we're going to have really different numbers here. What is your number?
Oh, we're doing numbers still. Okay.
Why not? Let's do a number. You don't have to.
7 point. We don't have to do numbers?
No.
Well, okay. I mean, I would give it maybe like a 7.5 if we're going to do numbers, but I enjoyed myself. It was charming and sweet and kind and generous, and it wanted to be exactly what it turned out to be.
This is like a 2 for me. This like might end up on my worst of list at the end of the year. I was boggled by this thing from the get-go. The Photoshop pictures and the picture frames from the very beginning. This thing is just so chintzy.
I also don't believe that it's an arbitrary reason why they go to Greece because, again, I've been to Spain for family reunions, and there are 100 people in a restaurant all yelling at each other, and that is real.
Well, I'm the only child of an only child and the mother of an only child, so I do not get this cultural element of it. But I will give you that. All right, Dave, you're the best. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.